All right, thank you all for joining me. This is Digital Tools for Teaching. This is a monthly series that we run here at Wisconsin Literacy. Our topic this month is supporting immigrants and refugees. If you don't know me, my name is Jamie Cobes. I'm a manager of tutor training and digital literacy. So the agenda for today is first, I'd like to demo a collection of tools that I've chosen to show you. You may be familiar with some, you may be familiar with all of them, but I like to end with a little bit of time for you to explore at least one of those tools. And I call it explore and report. So you can share with the group anything that you've noticed, any comments you have, or any questions you have about the mechanics or the logistics of how to use it. Each of these sessions provides you with a handout. So I'll give you a handout in the chat today, also in a follow-up email. You'll get links to all of the tools that I share. You'll also get some links to like tutorials or resources that kind of give you ideas of how to use these tools. If you are watching the recording of this, the link to that handout will be in the description of the video. All right, so as I began collecting tools, I want to acknowledge that it is getting harder and harder, or we have to be a little bit more resourceful to support the immigrants and the refugees that we work with, especially in the current political climate. So I'm not confident that I'm going to be presenting anything new to you today, but perhaps you'll be seeing new ways to use it. And we also have each other here. We're a nice small group if we want to share other resources that you know of, or other ways to use the resources I'm about to show you. As I was collecting them, I try to think in terms of two types of support that we can offer immigrants and refugees. The first being just information, but information in their preferred language. So this L1 here is just my shorthand for their first language. And then the other type of support that we offer as literacy agencies for sure is English language learning support. So I have both kinds of tools here today. The first one is Google Translate. Raise your virtual hand or give me a nod if you already use this or if you have students that use it. Okay. I have seen it used more and more frequently. I think it's a great app, especially for travelers if you're going somewhere and you don't speak the language. But I've seen it used in very creative ways with students that we work with. So if you don't know, or just so that we can all be on the same page, it's an app. It's used for translating both speech and text. You can type or speak words into the app. Or you can upload entire documents or images with text. The mobile phone app offers an instant camera translation, so that can translate images or documents that have text instantly by just pointing your camera. I'll show you just a couple of examples if you are unfamiliar. So this is what it looks like on my phone as a screenshot. And down here is how you know which language you're translating from. So you're translating from English. Here I have to Ukrainian. I can switch those back and forth with these arrows. I could click here on Ukrainian or English and change languages there. I can type what I want to translate up here. This little pencil icon, I can click on that and I can actually write with my finger in a space. This is really helpful for languages that use scripts that are not like the Latin alphabet or don't match your keyboard. And then also I can click on this microphone and I can speak into it. So one example I've had is when we were doing our laptop distribution project and I was working with a participant who spoke Ukrainian and I had to kind of walk through how to set up a laptop. And she was not understanding the idea of the Microsoft account. I knew she knew what a Microsoft account was, but I used Google Translate and we worked back and forth that way to help her set up her laptop. I'll show you another example of how you can use Google Translate in the same situation. Down here is the camera button. So in the laptop box with the laptop, she received this flyer from our partner organization. And I can point my Google Translate app or point my camera when I have the app open at this, and then it will translate automatically here into Ukrainian. It's not always 100% accurate. I know this because I speak French fairly well, and so I've tested it out with French and noticed that there are some mistakes. So you do have to know that, but it does do a fairly good job in a pinch. And another example of using Google Translate actually comes from a book that we've selected for our first book club meeting at Wisconsin Literacy. I thought it would be appropriate to make a little plug here. For our meeting in April, we're reading a book called The Newcomers: Finding Refuge, Friendship, and Hope in America. I just started it, but I'm hooked. I think I read like 100 pages in 2 days. And so I wanted to bring up a connection that I made here to Google Translate. Two of the students in this particular classroom in the book, one is from Vietnam, so she speaks Vietnamese, and the other speaks Portuguese. And they want to be friends, but they're having this communication barrier. And so they end up using Google Translate to translate between Vietnamese and Portuguese and build a pretty solid friendship because of that digital tool. So the next tool is WhatsApp. And I know that this is a pretty well-known one too, but I want to point out that if you're not using it, it does have some advantages. So first of all, it's free. It's an instant messaging app. It's available on smartphones, but it's also available on computers, which is something I think is less known. So you can have a desktop version of WhatsApp on your computer. It allows you to send text and voice messages, make voice and video calls. You can share images, documents, and other content just as if you were texting with your phone's text app. But it's a great way, I think, to meet students where they are, especially since WhatsApp is used much more widely internationally than we use it in the United States. And so some students may already be using it, and it might be like the first digital tool that they know, and it's a great way for you to springboard into other digital tools and to meet them where they are. It also works via Wi-Fi connection, so you don't need to have a cellular data plan that you're paying for in order to use it. You just need to be able to hook up to Wi-Fi, and that can be public Wi-Fi. A few ways that you could use WhatsApp with students in kind of under the categories of communication, homework or practice, and virtual instruction. So you could send communication like welcome or how-to videos. You could send reminders. You can send links to virtual meetings or other resources. Claire, I was remembering you were saying when you participated in our panel that this was a lot easier way for you to send links to virtual meetings than to have your students access email because they were unfamiliar with email.
Yep, and I actually just put in the chat too. I found that there's some, like I work a lot with Rohingya refugees, and some of the women, they have phone numbers that only work on WhatsApp. Like you can't call them with a regular number,
Okay.
or like a regular phone call, but because of like the way it works with data and all that stuff, but their phones will work on WhatsApp only. And you can also, what I like about it too is you can see if people saw your message. So you're not wondering like, did they get this? You actually,
Mm,
yep, they did. So that's something I found really helpful.
I did not know that. That's a great tip. Thank you.
Mhm.
For homework or practice, you could send written work via photos or documents. You can send links to online practice resources. You can send photo, audio, video, or poll conversation prompts just to continue practicing English. And then if you want to do virtual instruction, you can use WhatsApp as a video calling platform. And you could even organize groups in WhatsApp. So you could use those possibly for student conversation groups that you facilitate or monitor.
I have a question, Jamie.
Yes,
Uh, it is a good practice to use our personal numbers.
thank you for bringing that up. So that is something that I've had a hard time getting over as a barrier. I believe that there's a way, like if you have a Google Voice number, Claire, go for it.
So it used to be you could create a Google Voice number that was connected to your personal phone number, but it was totally like a separate number, and WhatsApp would accept that. About a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, they stopped. So you can't use that workaround anymore. At our, like, some of us are kind of grandfathered in. I work at Catholic Charities in Milwaukee. What we did is, for my one case manager who's new on the staff, the agency bought her a cell phone line. Because you can connect it to landlines. It does work with a landline connection. So but like we have extensions, so that didn't work for us. So we have a very cheapy plan for her, basically, so that she can have a WhatsApp number, because like I said, we've got some women in our program that only, like, WhatsApp is the only way to communicate with them.
So I think maybe Veronica, the reason you were asking, and correct me if I'm wrong, is sometimes we don't feel like we want to share our personal phone number with students. Like we want to keep some sort of barrier or privacy there. And Claire, thank you very much. That explains to me why I could not figure out how to get a WhatsApp account with
Yeah.
my Google Voice number. It's just not possible anymore.
Yeah, it's not. And I'll also say too, there's WhatsApp and WhatsApp Business. And so I have a WhatsApp business account. Like, I have my own personal private WhatsApp that I, use with my friends and family, but then I have a business account, and that's the one that, we use for work. And that's nice too, because you can set like away messages. So if I'm out of the office, I can have a WhatsApp away message, which is awesome. But
Mhm.
that's another. Yeah, but that's why it wasn't working, Jamie. They made that change. We were very sad.
Okay. Yeah, we have Google Voice, but that message goes directly to the regular text message.
Mhm.
Since they
Mhm.
don't receive, like some of them, they don't have like a phone service and they have only Wi-Fi from home, and that is the reason why they use WhatsApp.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but okay, thank you.
The next tool is Alma Chatbot. This is a fairly new one to me. And I'm going to click here on this link. So it was developed by International Rescue Committee, and it is AI. It's an AI chatbot or a virtual assistant. And she can help you with public benefits and social services, employment and workforce integration, financial literacy and housing counseling, rights and responsibilities, client documentation, and local services. Here are the languages that she can help in. So as you can see, it's slightly limited currently. So she can help in Dari Farsi or English, Spanish, and Swahili. When I share the link with you, I encourage you to watch this video. It might be something you can show to students, and it does have subtitles here. I did try it out in English, so I have some screenshots of the conversation that I had with Alma, and I'll share those with you. Want to point out that she does communicate only via WhatsApp. So you need to have WhatsApp for Alma to work. You also need to be able to read in the language that you've chosen, because I did not notice, and maybe I didn't play around with it too much, but I did not notice a way to speak verbally or to hear what she was saying back to me. So just so you know, here's how the conversation starts with her. Hi there, I'm Alma. She explains who she is, and then you get to choose a language. So I chose English. And then she goes through a series of what I'm guessing she legally has to tell you, that she's not a real person, that she's a chat bot. If you're in an emergency, you should call 911, what she can help you with. And I was really impatient and I just jumped into asking her a question. How do I get a driver's license? And as you can see, she tells me down here, please finish onboarding first. How long have you been in the US? So I did have to answer all of those questions and finish the onboarding before I got help. And then I chose that I wanted help with documentation. And then we had, I don't have screenshots of that, unfortunately, but we had a quick conversation about how to get a driver's license. And she was able to point me toward some helpful sites for that. Has anybody used Alma? All right, the next resource is USA Hello. I'm really enjoying the resources that this site has. And I think they offer a lot of resources in a lot of languages. So I'll just point out here that you up here in the corner where it says English, you can change to other languages. So they have all of these languages to translate both the resources, the content, and the entire website, I believe. So this is a site that was built to provide information for immigrants and refugees in the US. So you have these categories: life in the USA, education, work, immigration, citizenship, and health. One thing I was going to show you today is they have this app called Find Hello, but I just recently learned that they are discontinuing it. In fact, they discontinued it last month. It was a way to find resources in your area, but they were concerned that it was being used to target immigrants instead of to help immigrants. Yes, that is the sad state of affairs right now. So they have ended that, but I do think that there are still a lot of great resources here, and particularly resources that you can provide to immigrants and refugees in their preferred language, especially if they're literate in their preferred language. One thing, if you have citizenship classes, here it is. All right, so 128 civics test questions, and then you have them in these languages as well. You might be asking, well, why is it helpful to have them in those languages if they have to take the test in English anyway? And I think we walk a fine line as citizenship teachers between sort of teaching to that test and teaching memorization of answers and really truly understanding the content. And so I think presenting those questions and the answers in somebody's preferred language is a great way to sort of get at some of those abstract concepts, like what the heck is democracy or what is a republic, and then start to teach the English as well.
And sometimes people do qualify to take them in their language if they meet the exemption qualifications.
Thank you. Oh, you just had them up in Spanish.
Yeah, that's why I just pulled it up in Spanish because someone qualified to do it in Spanish.
Perfect. All right, so that's USA Hello. Is anybody using this site for anything other than citizenship questions? The next resource or tool that I want to mention is a curriculum that Wisconsin Literacy has developed called English for Driving. And that you can find on our website. So it's meant to support people who are looking to get their driver's license and need to learn some of the English vocabulary for that. It follows, let me see if I can show you here. I'll turn off that flipping page sound and make this bigger. So it follows the modules in the Department of Motor Vehicles or the Department of Transportation's motorist handbook. So there are 12 modules in there. So we have 12 modules here. And each of the modules starts with an image that you can use to elicit known vocabulary or pre-teach new vocabulary. And then each module will have a short story about Eunice and Ahmad, our characters. So one of them is getting his driver's license that day, and they're both driving to the DMV. And then it presents vocabulary, grammar concepts that you can work on, and then has some writing practice specifically to fill out the driver's license application form and some practice test questions as well. I want to point out that there is a student workbook, but there's also a teaching plan, and there are more activities in the teaching plan than end up in the student workbook. So lots of suggestions in the teaching plan about what you can do with a class or one-on-one with students. And the manipulatives, so like intersections and stop signs and cars that you can move around. The manipulatives are found in the teaching plan. You can view all modules of the student workbook online in digital format by clicking here. And if you are interested in getting printed English for Driving books for your students or for your organization, the pricing is here, and then the email to make that request for a quote is here. And then the last resource that I'll tell you about is Wisconsin Literacy has online professional development. We do online mini courses that are self-paced. They're for tutors and instructors. And I have started bundling those into themes. So I'm calling them skill series. So we have a bundle of 5 mini courses that fall under the skill of being able to teach ELL to emerging readers. So I'm going to take you to our tutor training page and show you how to navigate to that. So this is the ongoing tutor training page. And under ELL is where we have what we call mini courses. So these take anywhere from like 15 minutes to maybe an hour to complete. And so the 5 courses that were on my slide can be found here, but sort of in no particular order. So if you go down to additional topics, here is where we have the skill series teaching ELL to emerging readers. And on the left here in the menu, you can see each of the courses. So what is an emerging reader? We'll start out by defining exactly what an emerging reader is, and then introduce instructional approaches that work with emerging readers. We also have introducing vocabulary without print, building oral skills without print, alphabetics for beginning English language learners, and preparing emerging readers for writing. If you have tutors or instructors who are interested in this, but feel overwhelmed by the length of this course, you can go back to our tutor training page and just do them as individual courses. But you can also, within the skill series where they're all bundled together, you can jump around. You are not forced to do them in order or complete one before you go to the other. And then if this is useful to you, when tutors or instructors complete it, they can print their own certificate of completion. And this is true for all of our longer courses or skill series. So you can just type your name, you get a certificate, and then you click print. And that will print for them. So I'm going to give us all a few moments to explore any of these resources that you are interested in or super curious about right now. Thank you. So a couple USA Hellos, a couple WhatsApps, and English for Driving, and the ongoing tutor training site. Great. Would anybody like to share either in the chat or by unmuting any observations or comments or questions that you had about the resource?
I looked at USA Hello at their educational resources or their like life in the United States. And I mean it all looks really great. It's a lot of text and thinking about, literacy levels even in their own language, like how much would people actually like read through or they get kind of overwhelmed. But it's a lot of really great information. And it's awesome
Yeah,
that they have it in so many languages.
I wondered the same thing.
I with WhatsApp, I found an article about 12 tricks, and I didn't get to finish reading it, but the first trick was about how to change the font of your message. And my first thought was, why would I want to do that? But then it occurred to me, well, there are some fonts for beginning language learners. Some fonts are easier to read than others. They may have been taught the letter A in a certain style, and if it's in a different style, they may not recognize it. So that could be useful there.
Thank you. I didn't know you could do that either.
Amy, can I introduce another tool that I haven't used a lot, but it's another resource. It's called Targimly. Have you heard of that, Jamie? It's
Mm-mm.
a free interpreter app that uses volunteers. And
Ooh.
I usually share it with my volunteers. Like I said, I haven't used it very much, but I think what I've always told volunteers is we do one-on-one in-home tutoring with refugees. If it's like, I've got 15 minutes left or 20 minutes left, and I've got like one or two things where it'd be really great to have an interpreter, because you can tell it, like, I estimate this conversation will be 10 minutes long. Um,
And Claire, do you know what the advantage to using Targimly would be over to using WhatsApp? I
well,
mean, not
or
WhatsApp,
like
but
over
Google Translate.
it'd be an advantage over Google Translate. Like Google Translate, it's AI. This is actual people. Like there's people who volunteer to be interpreters. Um,
Hmm. Wow.
so like I said, I haven't used it a lot, but I know it's another tool, and it really is designed for people working with refugees and immigrants and don't have a lot of money for translation or interpretation.
That's great.
I
Have you
did
ever
hear
used,
about it elsewhere. Another person had mentioned it in a positive aspect. So that's two positives for it. So thank you.
Mhm. Have you ever used the language line?
Yeah, I've used Language Line a lot.
How does it compare to this? Just
I
logistically and
Well, you still sometimes have to wait. I mean, Language Line is expensive.
right.
There is a paid version. But even then in Language Line, sometimes you have to wait to get an interpreter. I mean, it's not a guarantee that you
Mhm.
have someone in the language right away. That's always my concern with this is like, how long is the wait time going to be? Because it is volunteers.
Mhm.
But that's why I just encourage like short conversations, not an hour.
Yeah. No, I
I
had
think you're
no
more likely
idea.
to get
Thank you.
someone.
I mentioned that this was a monthly series that we run. The next 2 months, I'm going to switch up the format a little bit. And I know that some of you have been to a makerspace that I've done before. It was fairly successful, and I've had requests to do it again. So next month, we'll do a Flippity makerspace. Flippity is an online site with lots of different templates for creating activities, learning activities. So if you are interested in coming and learning how to use Flippity and leaving with a created activity that you can share with students, a makerspace is for you. The next month in May, we'll do a Jotboard makerspace. So Jotboard is a digital whiteboard. It's very similar to Google's old Jamboard, which they no longer have, but it's really easy to use and a great way to create sort of kinesthetic, tactile, manipulative activities on a digital whiteboard. So I encourage you to sign up for those if you are interested in learning how to create activities for learners, digital activities. Thanks, Claire. So she says the first Flippity Makerspace session was great. I learned a lot and have started using it. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. I can stick around if you have any questions, but otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your day and I hope to see you again soon.